All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're doing something a little different. We're stepping into the role of psychological detectives to unpack a really fascinating professional Jungian therapy research discussion and clinical case study. We're basically going to look at the unconscious mind through the lens of one incredibly vivid dream from a client who literally just entered retirement. If you've ever wondered how our minds process those massive, earth-shattering life transitions, or how the hidden parts of ourselves practically demand to be heard, you are absolutely going to love this. We're going to decode the symbols, the geography, and even the bizarre timeline of this dream to reveal just a breathtaking psychological journey. So let's dive right in.
So right out of the gate, we're hit with this massive paradox. The dreamer finds themselves traveling to a country they actively dislike, and then a voice in the dream tells them they have to adjust their internal clock to a medieval time zone. I mean, what? Why travel to a place you hate and set your watch to the Middle Ages? It makes absolutely zero logical sense. But, in Jungian analysis, the unconscious doesn't really do logic. It speaks in symbols and paradoxes. As detectives laying out these clues, we have to realize this bizarre contradiction isn't just random static. It's actually the exact key we need to unlock the dreamer's current state of mind.
Okay, let's break down the actual clues the dream is giving us here. Our client recently retired after a super successful, high-stress career as a teacher and therapist, and honestly, they just want to relax. Consciously, if they were booking a dream vacation right now, they'd go somewhere like Thailand. But the dream? The dream insists they go to Vietnam. For this specific client, Vietnam is heavily associated with chaos, noise, a strong Chinese cultural influence, and these really deep underlying themes of war and trauma. They distinctly note that they do not like this environment. So why on earth is their unconscious dragging them there instead of, say, a sunny, relaxing beach with a piña colada?
Well, it's like a psychological tug of war. On one side, you have Thailand, which represents the conscious ideal for this client. It's motherly, it's free, it's deeply connected to nature. It is the textbook relaxed retirement they consciously want. But on the flip side, we have Vietnam, which for them represents control, trauma, chaotic traffic, and what Jungians call the shadow. The dream is literally bypassing what the client consciously wants and dropping them straight into the messy, chaotic shadow of their own psyche.
Now, to get why this is happening, we really need to talk about a core Jungian concept: compensation. See, Jungians don't think dreams are just out there fulfilling our conscious wishes. Instead, they serve this compensatory function. They act as this ultimate balancing mechanism, essentially dragging the unintegrated, rejected, or totally hidden parts of our psyche right back into the light. The dream isn't punishing the client, even if it feels like it. It's forcing them to confront the internal chaos and those survival instincts they've relied on for decades. Because let's face it, those instincts don't just magically vanish the second you file your retirement paperwork.
And here's where it gets really wild. The way the client perceives Vietnam, this strict, noisy, almost totalitarian energy, well, that perfectly mirrors their own internal regime. Even in retirement, their inner voice is just screaming at them. You must keep producing. You cannot fall behind. You must master new AI tech. You cannot just rest. The external war of their 9-to-5 career might be over for sure, but internally, they're still living under this strict, demanding regime that equates their fundamental worth with constant, nonstop output.
But wait, that brings us to the second huge mystery of this case study. The dream doesn't just dictate where they are, it dictates when they are. Why a medieval time zone instead of modern time? Why would the unconscious deliberately take a modern geographic location and mash it up with an ancient, historical timeline? It's such a ridiculously specific instruction from that voice in the dream, right? The answer actually lies in another really profound concept called regression in the service of transformation. Now, don't let the word regression fool you. This isn't about running away from reality or devolving. It's a highly purposeful step back. It's stepping away from our modern, hyper-efficient systems to return to the deep psychological waters needed for true renewal. Symbolically, the medieval era is a time before all this modern efficiency. It's the era of alchemy, of quiet monasteries, of slow pilgrimages. To actually undergo this transformation, the client needs what psychoanalyst Wilfred Bion called negative capability, which is basically the ability to just sit in ambiguity, in the unknown, and in the mystery, without immediately rushing to find a productive conclusion.
So we're looking at a literal clash of clocks here. Modern tech time is all about being fast, efficient, and totally output-driven. I mean, it's the time of AI generating answers in a fraction of a second. But soul time? Soul time is slow, it's ambiguous, and it's meaning-driven. Integrating trauma and mourning the loss of a lifelong role, that cannot be rushed. You simply can't process decades of a high-stress, survival-driven career at the speed of a modern factory. You need the pacing of a medieval monastery. The dream is literally telling the client, hey, slow down, your soul operates on a totally different time zone.
Which leads us to this really beautiful alchemical concept, the vas hermeticum. Basically, it's this sealed, stable container that alchemists used back in the day. They'd put base elements inside, let them slowly heat up, mix, mature, and eventually, supposedly, transform into gold. Psychologically speaking, we need a similar container to process our intense life experiences safely. And in just a brilliant twist, this clinical case study reveals what our recently retired client is actually using as their modern-day vas hermeticum.
Astonishingly, get this, they're using artificial intelligence. I know, right? But they aren't using AI for modern efficiency or to churn out more work. They're actually using it as an alchemical container. They're sitting down and using it to organize old photos, structure their life stories, safely process past traumas, decode their own dream symbols, and even draft heartfelt messages thanking past mentors. They are taking this hyper-modern, cutting-edge technology and using it as a reflective mirror to do the incredibly slow, ancient work of internal gathering and mourning. It's just a breathtaking synthesis of modern tech and ancient soul time.
To really grasp what's going on here, we can look at Jung's theory of life phases, which breaks this down perfectly. In the first half of life, the primary goal is all about building the persona. The action is outward. You're constructing a career, a family, a solid identity. The ruling archetype here is the warrior. But as we move into the second half of life, the goal shifts drastically. The goal becomes integrating the shadow. The action turns inward, towards gathering what was left behind. And the archetype? It shifts from the warrior to the mourner. The outward building phase absolutely must give way to mourning, to gathering up all those unlived parts of your life.
And honestly, here is the absolute gut punch realization of this entire clinical analysis. The client thought they were just, retiring from a job. But the teacher, the professor, the therapist, these titles were just the armor of the warrior. They aren't just ending a career. They are retiring a lifelong psychological survival archetype. For decades, they survived by fighting, by achieving, by protecting others. Letting go of that core identity? That is a profound psychological death and rebirth. It's huge.
You see, the dream is handing them a map, and it is definitely not a straight line to paradise. The client thought step 1 was warrior retires, and step 2 was go straight to the relaxing Earth Mother in Thailand. But their unconscious is like, nope, nice try. The actual steps are, the warrior retires, then they must return to the ruins of the battlefield, which is symbolized by Vietnam. Right there in the ruins, they have to mourn the survivors and the past. They have to adjust them internal clock to ancient, slow time. Only then, and literally only after the mourning is fully complete, can they finally reach the peaceful Earth Mother. You just cannot bypass the grief.
This brings us to just a wildly powerful quote from the source material. The warrior finally lays down the sword, not out of failure, but because the war is over. This isn't about giving up, folks. It's about what the analyst calls survivor's mourning. It is a deep honoring of the past struggles. The trauma on the battles shouldn't just be shoved in a closet the day you retire. They need to be recognized, validated, and slowly, gently mourned. Really, it's a profound tribute to the warrior who kept them alive all these years.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to chew on, inspired by this remarkable case study. Think about your own life for a second. Think about your own relentless drives, and maybe your own unacknowledged battles. Is your inner clock still stuck in a past war? Are you rushing through your days, driven by survival mechanisms that you honestly don't even need anymore? Maybe, just maybe, like the dreamer, it's time for you to adjust your inner clock. Slow down and honor the warrior within you so they can finally get some rest. Thanks so much for exploring this fascinating journey of the unconscious with me. See you next time.